What is going on, guys? It's Will Blandon. I want to talk to you real quick about another strategy in this holding company equation that actually helps. And one of my previous videos, I made a mistake in calling it a living will. And what I really meant was a living revocable trust. Meaning you can keep adding on it as you're living your life. You keep adding more assets to it, and that's ultimately what you're going to have control everything. It's going to be a way to pass over my whole empire, holding company, baby companies and all, to your beneficiary, which if you're lucky enough, like myself, I have a child, I'm just going to turn all that over to. But the difference I think between the living trust and the living will is, as far as I know, because I'm not a professional, but as far as I know, the living will, you still have to go through probate. The living trust, you don't have to. So as long as that document says who the beneficiary is, that living trust can control your holding company, all your subsidiaries, and give 100% power over to your child with that one document without her going through probate. That's what I like about the living revocable trust, they call it. Meaning you can always update it, you can add to it while you're living. And I think, as far as I know, they still do say you should have a will along with your living trust, but the living trust is the important part because your beneficiary will have immediate access to controlling your structures, your holding company, your subsidiaries. So it's a way to give them immediate control, and then whatever you got in your actual will, she's going to have to go through probate for, but it at least gives her immediate access to the money, which is the most important thing, in my opinion. Gives her quick access to the money, so they could do what they got to do to keep functioning your empire. In the event that either you are in the hospital, and can't function, or obviously the event of your death. So this is why I'm set up with the living trust. Now, where the land trust come into play, I'll tell you where the land trust comes into play. The land trust comes into play when you're ready to go buy a property. But you're like me. You want that anonymity. You don't want people, so if they look up that deed on that house, they don't see your name. So this is where the land trust comes into play, because a lot of mortgages and banks will let you close the deed under a trust. They won't let you close under an LLC because it's residential, but they will let you close under a trust. And the beneficiary of the trust can be either directly your holding company, or the smart thing to do, obviously, is the LLC under your holding company is a beneficiary of the property. That's what's going to hold the deed when you own 100% of the property. That's the LLC you close under. Or you don't close under the LLC. You close under the trust. But if somebody looks up that deed, they go to the county clerk's office, who owns this property, they just see the name of the trust and not your name. And then the beneficiary of the trust is on a document that only you see, giving control over to your LLC. That's the document you keep. In the event that something has to come up in court, you will show that document, but only then. So they don't see a transfer from the mortgage from the trust name to the LLC. They don't see that. But at least when somebody looks up that deed, they don't see your name either. They see the name of a trust. You know? So it gives that extra layer of protection. Now, I have seen some CPAs say, close in your name. Just close the mortgage in your name and immediately transfer it into your LLC. Now, I heard stories that a bank technically could call a note due the minute they see that you transfer the loan out of your name to the LLC. But I just heard recently a CPA on YouTube said in his whole practice, he's never seen a mortgage called due because of the transfer of the deed. So it's whatever you're willing to risk. I would rather close the deed under the name of the trust, because I don't want you to see my name if you looked up that property. And then having that extra layer where the trust beneficiary is the LLC makes me feel even better. And then if they looked up the LLC, they see that LLC is owned by your holding company. Layers. They can look up the holding company, and the way I have it set up in a state where they don't reveal that information, they won't know who owns the holding company. And then the holding company itself, you can put under your living trust, which goes directly to your child beneficiary. It's an extra layer of protection when you're doing this stuff, you know, because the key is, even if you're not doing anything wrong, sometimes people will come after you and try to take what you have. It's better to have layers than none at all. I want to thank you guys for supporting me on my channel, helping me get to that 1,000 subscribers. I am very thankful. Please continue watching this content. The living trust and the land trust are an extra layer in this holding company structure that I think will definitely benefit you in the future if you're building this out like I'm trying to do. Because ultimately I want a living trust that is fully funded. It'll have a separate bank account, and that will probably be the money that you got from your holding company. I probably will send, just keep enough to keep the holding company operating, but that money will probably go to my living trust. You know, in the event my daughter needs it, she has access to the trust, which controls everything. The living revocable trust will be the ultimately control of your whole dynasty legacy. So you want to pick a good family name. You don't necessarily want to name it after your family, but give it a good, you know, a good neutral name. You know, maybe 2 family members, last names, like I did with my holding company, to feel like you got a good dynasty that you're building for your family. You know, and this is what I'm doing for my family. You know, it may take me 5 years, 10 years, whatever it takes. I'm going to have an ironclad holding company, a living revocable trust that I could just keep updating as my investments grow, my net worth grow. You're obviously going to keep changing it a little bit and adding more things. But ultimately, your living revocable trust will control everything. And you'll have land trusts in place when you have a mortgage, or you have a deal you want to do and you don't want your name to show up. Land trusts are also great when you're doing when you're wholesaling houses, like you want to give a deal to another investor. They definitely come into play when you don't want your name to show up on certain deals. You know, and you can make the beneficiary your LLC, your holding company, things of that nature. But I ran it long enough. I hope you guys enjoy the content. And again, thank you for your support. Subscribe, like, and comment. And I will catch you guys in the next video.